Keeping score, Rick Horrow. It's Beyond the Boardroom for discussions about all aspects of the trillion-dollar sports business. Used to be $1 billion, maybe 50 years ago. Now we came up with numbers that say it's over $1 trillion, and our guest can kind of validate some of that. He's an academic as well as an entrepreneur, Tim Hayden, the managing director of Stadia Ventures, also involved in the academic program at St. Louis, and a lot of other entrepreneurial things, the stadiums, facilities. Your bio is magnificent. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing good. Rick, I truly appreciate you having me on. So I think my bio makes me sound taller than I probably really am.
Well, we don't know. We don't need to know how tall or short you are. We need to know what it says on paper. And by the way, what is it like at St. Louis University now? Is it you have a lot more time on your hands now that the Rams left town?
Actually, we keep looking for new ways to fill the void. And so, unfortunately, since there were so few fans going to the games anyway, it's actually kind of an easy way to fill. But to be honest, though, we're still friends with everybody over in L.A. side of things. So it's a very amicable side of things.
Easy for you to say now, my friend, but I'm not quite sure that really works long term. We do have a common person who's been interviewed and is a really good friend of ours and our networks and our shows, Rich Chaffetz, who is not only ComPsych, but obviously he is a big benefactor, and the arena happens to be named after him at University of St. Louis, right?
Great guy, great entrepreneur, and obviously great backer of St. Louis University athletics, so tremendous guy. Clearly.
All right, let's talk about you, first of all. Give us kind of an elevator speech about Stadia Ventures and what the deal is.
Sure. So it all kind of goes hand in hand. My partner is a gentleman named Art Chu, and he used to run all innovation for Rawlings for about 10 years. And before that, he ran innovation for Titleist for 7 years. My background is over a period of the last 12 years, I've either started or helped to start 7 different sports businesses. So everything from mobile app platforms for sports fans, so pre-MLB at bat, if you will, all the way through helping to launch a couple of professional soccer teams and a professional soccer league. So when we came together, our whole pain was that we know a bunch of entrepreneurs that are lacking the ability to get to the leaders within these bigger sports industry organizations. And the main reason is there's just too much clutter out there. There's a lot of stuff out there of trying to break through the ranks, and so for the good entrepreneurs, it becomes very difficult. And then with my partner on the opposite side, he's saying, hey, I'm waiting to see the best of the next innovation, the next thing that can help us transform a company. But again, cutting through that clutter. And then between the two of us, we knew of a bunch of investors that they love to invest in technology and real estate, construction, manufacturing, but their passion is really sports. So our concept was, how do we bring all of that together? How do we bring the best of each of those 3 worlds? And in our mind, how do we create a sports innovation hub and allow it to run more efficiently? And it's not that we need to own everything, but at least we could really be pulling the players together in all these different areas to truly help accelerate what we're seeing on the field, what we're seeing in the retail on the shelves, what we're actually seeing in technology with training and with the amateur athletics. And so that was the ultimate objective for it.
Well, and it's worked very well, obviously, and this is a business show. So let's talk a little bit about the business plan. That's the concept, and you've so far passed Sports Business 101, but then how do you get it funded? What's the ROI look like? What's the return for investors? What's the business proposition?
And I love this. So what we ended up creating first was an accelerator. And for those that are not familiar with accelerators, think of it along the lines of an immersive business development boot camp for the best entrepreneurs that we can find. So we do an international search. We end up narrowing the field using judges, and the judges are always senior leaders in sports business that are our friends. We joke we've been in this industry long enough. Fortunately, we haven't pissed off very many people, so we have a lot of friends kind of helping us along this journey. And so our goal is twice a year we will pick the best 5 sports startups. They all are established startups, meaning that they already have a product or a service in market. They already have traction, and they already have revenue of anywhere from about $100,000 to $3 million a year in revenue. We will invest up to $100,000 into each of those 5 businesses, and then, as we say, we will drop them into an immersive business development boot camp. We'll surround them with mentors that can help truly move their needle on the biz dev side or organization side or other things, and then we will take them through a 12-week program. At the end of it is demo day, and they get up on stage in front of hundreds of investors and sports execs to kind of showcase their new or their unveiled new companies. And so each of those investments comes with an equity transaction. So therefore, we will own a piece of each of those companies. So it's in our vested interest to truly help them move the needle and help them move down their path.
What are the best 2 or 3 deals and return? I guess it's 2 questions. One is the best return on investment / business deals that you've made by taking equity in companies. And then I guess the next question, so you can separate them in your own mind, is what's been the most fun ones?
Oh, sure.
Those are 2 separate, necessarily 2 separate questions.
Exactly. And here's what's so funny. I'll answer the second question first because it's almost like when a parent says, well, I love all my children the best.
Yeah.
But in our case, each of these companies coming through are phenomenal. I mean, they are handpicked for us to help accelerate them. So I think when we talk fun, I mean, we're just in a fun industry to start with, but each of these companies are just amazingly cool, and obviously already running down the path of traction. So I'd almost end up saying it's hard for me to say which ones are the worst ones because they're all just awesome. On the front side of this thing, so we have companies, so this is our 3rd cohort. So a cohort is education parlance, it would be a semester. So we are currently into our 3rd cohort, and with that is we only have about 14 companies in our portfolio right now. And so they range. I mean, in this current cohort, we have Nix Biosensor, which is, think about it as a Band-Aid that will go on your skin, and it will evaluate your sweat. So not only will it tell you that you need to be hydrated or you're overhydrated or whatever, it will also measure what is in your sweat and let you know what you're missing at that moment. So do you need electrolytes and Gatorade? Do you need, so whatever that thing looks like. So it is an entrepreneur out of Harvard. She invented it out at Harvard. She is currently moving towards production right now. And so she has so much traction running with the likes of, Under Armour, Gatorade, and Powerade all love her technology. So companies such as that, all the way down to, and she is out of Boston, all the way down to Leaf Tech out of New York, which had a successful Kickstarter campaign for a motorized skateboard, longboard. But the beauty is he has a patented system underneath the skateboard to allow you to turn sideways and edge as if you're on a snowboard. And it all happens on asphalt. And so a successful Kickstarter campaign, we truly wanted to jump in because we could see how we could help them. We have a group out of Charlotte, North Carolina that created the Uber for boating. So 1%ers all have access to captains for fishing and personal yachts and things. Well, their service called Easy Waves provides the service to get any person on a boat with a certified captain within 3 hours. So they don't need to own it anymore. They can just get on it, enjoy the day, get off, and move on with their lives. So it's fascinating to see all these. But I think the biggest one, normally within an accelerator, you have a 5-year window before you see an exit. And we saw our first exit in our first 7 months. So there's a group out of Toronto called Winning Identity. If you turn on the Golf Channel, most of the stuff you see on there in a digital format is done by this group out of Toronto. We introduced them to a potential client. It turns around that the client loved them so much, they acquired the company 7 months after entering our accelerator. So that one, I think, is probably our best success to date. And then we have a lot of different kind of discussions going on with other potential exits as well.
I will tell you that everybody listening to our Reuters and others ought to realize that this is the real deal. This is not for the faint of heart. Academic is great, but if you put a business plan together and it doesn't make any sense in the real world, this doesn't get you anywhere. And Tim Hayden is the guy that can drive the reality of this, so it's great that you're spending a few minutes with us. I'm sure you calculate every day how much your time is worth. So don't be sending me an invoice now, okay?
No. Like I said, this is the fun stuff. This is and please don't send me an invoice either, because I know how much. Yes, so your time is extremely valuable.
Well, listen. All right, now that we gave each other sufficient puff, the whole idea of the tech industry, I guess, if you were to say one thing more than anything, it's evolving, and where are the sweet spots for technological innovation, let's say, over the next 5 years? It's an impossible question to answer, but stay at 30,000 feet.
Sure. No. And our goal is we are holistic sports. So, I mean, we'll be looking at product all the way through service, all the way through technology. I think what's on our radar is going to be e-gaming. Definitely, towards the very top. And with the opportunity and the market potential for just that one category and what we're seeing internationally is a very big deal. The second one would be gaming. And obviously, within the U.S., that becomes a little bit more a touchy subject, but internationally, it's off the charts. One of the companies that came through our program last cohort is Behind the Picks. They will give you, they had developed an algorithm for the stock market, but it was too volatile, so they moved it over to sports, and they've actually been able to pick winners on a more accurate scale. They're actually showing it 78% average success. So your money that you would have put in about 5 years ago into the S&P, they would have actually tripled the S&P return on investment. So there's amazing technology and amazing things going on within the gaming portion side. Wearables are always going to be. Just because, with our friends over at Under Armour and our friends over at Wilson and Dick's Sporting Goods and things like that, we see a lot of great things happening within that wearable space. And then the other one's going to be augmented reality and virtual reality. I mean, truly, what we're seeing right now is, and again, we're lucky that we get a chance to see a lot of great new technologies that have not hit the true market yet. But what we're seeing and how the teams are using, like the San Francisco 49ers and how they're using virtual reality, the stuff that we tested out is fantastic. I mean, from all the way down to where you are immersed onto the field in a virtual world, but it looks real, using gloves that are tactile, so you can see through your goggles that there is a football, and when I grab it, I actually feel the resistance of that football with my hand, to then defensive coordinators plugging in new defensive schemes so that, it's almost like you're playing Madden, but yet you're actually on the field going up against a defensive lineman. So there's a lot of fascinating things that are coming down the pipe right now.
I'll tell you what, if the Niners could create a virtual reality system that might cause them to actually win 2 or 3 games, then you really have something going on.
Exactly. Yes.
That would be great. Yeah. This is incredibly intriguing from a business perspective as well, because you get ideas. I'm sure there is no shortage of ideas. We all in the industry, if we've been around long enough, will get the traditional calls of, you've got to take my idea and run with it, and people will take it personally when you don't have time, because they obviously, to them, it's the best idea in the history of the world. How do you create a process yourself where within 30 seconds you can decide in your own way kind of whether something merits the next step or not?
Now, Rick, that's an awesome question. So the beauty about my ties with St. Louis University, so at this moment we have the number 10th ranked entrepreneurship program in the world for undergrad and the number 14th ranked program for masters. Been teaching since 1973. So there are ways that we run the programs within SLU that allow you to fast track things. But with that being said, Guy Kawasaki used to be the chief evangelist for Apple, and he always ended up coming back talking about 3 pillars. You have to have pain, you have to have a solution, and you have to have somebody willing to pay for that pain to go away. So if you're missing any of those 3 components, and in a lot of cases your sniff test can be performed just off of that one little equation. If you're missing any of them, you would just have a great idea, and there's millions of ideas out there, but it may not be a great business opportunity. And so in our case, where we get lucky is with our accelerator, we get to see a lot of the best that are established businesses. But we will never, ever tell anybody no as far as getting in touch with us, even if you just have a pure idea. Our whole goal for this hub was we want everybody on our radar, because there may be ways we can help you with your idea. But with the flip side is most people will never tell you that your baby is ugly, until you have skin in the game. You never tell anybody their baby's ugly. But in our case, we want to help them understand what the real dynamics are. So even though you think you have the next best thing, what is the industry really looking like? What is the actual path to success? Where so many people think, hey, I should go pro. Well, in reality, pro may be the worst angle that you could take for your product. Maybe it is minor league, college, and amateur, because that's really where the money is and the business opportunities. So we try to disconnect the whole passion and your baby syndrome to what your true business is. But at the end of the day, we're Midwesterners, and we're not going to tell you it just sucks. We'll try helping you figure out how you can move it forward still.
Man, I love this concept, especially that there is no such thing as an ugly baby that you're going to turn away. That is an amazing idea for a sports entrepreneur. Final question. You have somebody that has an idea out there, and what's the one bit of advice you can give that person before he takes the next step?
I would say, and which is a great question because it helps. So when we put this hub together, the whole concept is we're pulling in graybeards. We're pulling together the older, more mature, more wise folks with experience together with newbies. And so find as many old graybeards as you can. And just ask them. Conduct informational interviews. Don't try selling right off the bat. Just try sitting down and understanding the dynamics of what they have going on, because it actually may allow you to pivot your own ideas to be more in line with what they have going. So I think the first thing is just get as much advice as you can, but then at the end of the day, and we talk about this all the time with our students and with our cohort members, is trust your gut. I mean, you're going to be the expert in this field for a specific reason, but trust your gut, because you may be getting advice, unspin the spin, but be able to hold true to what the tenets are of your business or your product or whatever else. But at the end of the day, talk with as many people as you can. Don't hold it too close to the vest. Most ideas are already out there, so if you're thinking somebody's going to steal it, well, you need to be able to trust those folks first, and you need to be able to get it out there to get the best advice you can.
What great advice. As a kind of a graybeard myself, I'm buying what you're selling. Tim Hayden, Managing Director, Stadia Ventures. Be back in a couple of minutes.